On today's episode 273 of the JAS Takhar podcast, we talk about how to meet more people when it comes to selling luxury real estate, as well as what do you say when you're following up with prospects. Don't miss this week's episode. Go to meetjastakhar.com/podcast to get your question answered live right on the podcast.
My first question is from Sarah. And she says, "Hi Jazz, I've been an agent for 2 years and I'm still not sure how to get people to actually answer my follow-up calls. Any tips for improving my response rate?"
Yeah, so I think what you do at the start in terms of how you set up the next follow-up is the most important. And so what I mean by that is that if you're speaking to somebody today on Friday and they say to you, look, I'm interested, or maybe I'm not even interested right now, what you want to make sure you do, and this is something that just once you do this more and more, it becomes a habit. It becomes like brushing your teeth in the morning and in the evening, where you don't have to really think about which tooth you're brushing. That's how I look at, really sales, but specifically following up. And what you always want to do, here's the habit. You want to make sure that you never get off a phone call. If the person's interested or not interested, you never get off the phone call without setting the next date. So if I'm speaking with somebody on Friday and they say to me, I'm thinking about buying a property in a year from now, fantastic. If it's okay with you, person that I'm speaking to you on the phone, can I just would it be okay with you if I just follow up in 6 months just to make sure that you're on the same timeline? 99% of people are going to be like, yeah, sure. It's 6 months out, like a year out. They're not going to really care. Now, when you call them in 6 months, and I'm going to tell you why you cut this in half. So just wait till the end. When you call them in 6 months, what you're going to say is, Bo, the prospect, are you still on that same timeline from when we spoke 6 months ago about, you mentioned that you wanted to purchase in a year. It's going to be 6 months from now. I'm just making sure that you're still on the same timeline. They're going to say, yeah, I am. Or the reason why you want to do it, and the reason I cut it in half, is because a lot of the time what happens is, oh my God, I'm so glad that you called, Jazz. I actually was just speaking with my wife last night and we kind of want to move that time up. Look, I've made the mistake in the past when somebody said a year to me and then I called them in a year. And what happened was, and this happened to me like once or twice, so I didn't need to hit my head against the wall too many times for me to not make a change. I called them and the guy on the phone was like, Jazz, I'm sorry, man. Like, we bought 3 months ago. Things changed. We needed to downsize quicker. We needed to get into the school area even faster than we originally thought. So what I do, rule of thumb, here's the rule of thumb, is cut the time in half from what the prospect says. I'm going to call me back in 3 months. No problem. You call them in a month and a half. Hey, Bo, just making sure you're on the same timeline, man. Just didn't want you to forget about me. Okay, so that is a habit that I need everybody to start implementing, which is do not get off the phone with anyone in any circumstance without setting up the expectation of the next follow-up. Because when you do make that call, it's not like, why are you calling me? It's more like, oh, okay, I'm glad that you called. Or you're able to say to them, hey, if they did say to you, why are you calling me? Well, I'm not sure if you remember, Bo, you mentioned to me the last time we spoke that you wanted to, that we set up this date for me to follow up. Okay. Here's the other thing that you can do, because a follow-up question that comes from that comes from this original question is, how do I ensure that they actually show up? And so that's where I also like to set up the expectation of making sure that I have a date and I don't get off the phone. But then let's add technology. You can set up right away. If someone says, call me in a month, okay, you can set up a reminder, email reminder to go out. You can set up a text to go out. You might not have the technology where the text message gets automatically sent, but you put it into your calendar. Send Bo a text message confirming our appointment. If it was from a shorter period of time, like you set up the appointment on, you spoke to them on Friday. Now the next call needs to be made next Wednesday. Send a text message on Tuesday. Bo, looking forward to talking to you tomorrow at 2. If anything comes up, please let me know. So what I want you to understand in terms of what I'm trying to articulate here is you need to make sure that you're being proactive and not allowing people to ghost you. None of us like being ghosted, meaning we set up an appointment and they don't show up. So there's some automation that you can actually put into place that will minimize the ghosting. It never takes it away 100%. Just get your mind wrapped around that some will, some won't. So what? Someone is waiting. It's why we want to live by what's called the principles of plenty. When you have a lot of the prospects, when one of them drop off, it doesn't hurt you as much. What's next, Bo?
Next question is from Ahmed from Mississauga. The question says, I'm spending hours on social media every week, but barely getting any leads. Should I keep at it or shift my focus elsewhere?
Well, Ahmed from Mississauga, I think that you need to first let me know. So if you're watching or listening, send me a DM or a message here on YouTube. Let me know how long you've been doing it. Because sometimes what I hear when I go speak at events or when I'm at brokerages doing trainings or even my own coaching clients is, Jazz, I've been doing the social media thing and it's not working out and I'm not getting any leads. So my first question is, how long have you been doing it for? Well, I've been doing it for friggin' 3 weeks, bro. 3 weeks. I've been at this thing for 5 years. And there's people who've been at it a lot longer than I've been. And now, at the time of this recording, end of almost a year of 2024, there's more competition on social media than there's ever been. Like, we're in the hundreds of millions of content creators. So there's only one stream on each platform. Like if you look at Instagram, for example, if I'm trying to get people's awareness on the coaching company of mine or my real estate company, and you're also looking for their real estate business, and maybe you sell phones, it's one stream we have. So we're all competing against each other in terms of getting awareness. So if you've only done it for 3 weeks, the sample size is not big enough. Now, if you say to me, you've been doing this for a year, at bare minimum, 3 videos a week, I would say at least I would want to get you to really 1 posting a week video, some type of image, a carousel, whatever it may be, a long write-up, and you're still not getting anything, then I think, in all honesty, it has a little to do with you might be using the wrong medium. What I mean by that is that if you've been doing a video a day for a year and you've gotten no traction whatsoever, you might just not be good on video. That's okay. We're not all good at everything. And the nice thing about social media and content in general is that if you're not good at video, there's other ways that the humans, not the robots, consume content. We read long form, we read short form, we like little tweets as well, and we like to look at images. So maybe you need to shift the way that you're putting out content, right? Like maybe you have a very, you have the gift of gab. You can go on for 30 minutes about the process of buying, selling, and investing. But the second that the camera comes on, you get a little insecure. And that's normal. That's okay. And now you've been doing it for a year and you just can't get over it. But because you're insecure, when you're on camera, it shows. So you don't have, the charisma, the riz, the kids call it. You don't have that. And that's okay, because what you can do is still record it, just put out the audio and put it out on a podcast platform that you then can still send to your clients. Because chances are, maybe you literally just need to shut the camera off, use your cell phone, you record in the voice note and put that out as a podcast. Because you're not being recorded through a lens, you might just be more comfortable and then you're gonna actually resonate with more people. So if it's been a year, then I would say chances are it's the medium. And then to answer your question in terms of should you do something else, I don't think you should do something else without switching the type of medium on social media. But even if you're doing content for sales, that can't be the only thing you're doing, right? We have to be doing some of the other fundamental stuff that you guys have heard me speak about: making phone calls, setting up educational events, making sure emails are going out. We got to think of business development and lead generation, prospecting, similar to like warfare. And the term that I like to use within the warfare analogy is guerrilla warfare. In fact, there's a term for it in marketing. It's called guerrilla marketing. You hit them high, you hit them low, you hit them from the left, hit them from the right. You just don't know how you're going to resonate and what is going to resonate on any given day. Bo?
Next question is from Lisa. And the question says, how do you handle buyers who want to see a ton of homes but never seem ready to make an offer?
Look, I think the way that you're showing homes could have something to do with it. So the process that I've always done is, first and foremost, I will always show a client whatever home they want to see the first time that we go out, because that's going to be the first time that we are kind of belly to belly in a property, right? It's just different. Like you meet with you have a consultation with somebody in person. You do it on Google Meet / Zoom. You're on a phone call. That is one thing, but then when you're actually out in like seeing a home with them, it's completely different. More conversations start to happen. So that first time, let's go. Whenever you want to go, there's a couple of properties. Now, here's the tactic that has always helped me minimize the amount of homes I show, because seeing a lot of homes, buyers might, specifically first-time home buyers, but even, I got clients who have bought multiple properties with me, and until I had these kind of conversations with them, they would keep seeing multiple properties and not putting in offers. They think it's a good idea. Like, I need to see everything. No, it's actually not a good idea, and I'll tell you why. Because then we fall into, humans in general, at some point in their lives, in a decision that they need to make, they fall into paralysis by analysis. It's too many options. It's like Baskin Robbins, 57 flavors. It's a lot easier to just go to an ice cream truck where you have chocolate and vanilla. I'm not saying just show 2 homes, but the less, the better. It's your job as a real estate professional to pre-select some of these homes based on some of the questions that I need you to ask. Okay? So I show them the home. Before we actually walk into the home, here's the script, guys. I tell Bo and his partner, I say, Bo, we're going to go into this home, and I want you to know that it's not my property. I don't live here. So you're not going to hurt my feelings. If we walk in and you don't like it, let's get out. We have more to see. I don't want to waste your time. We don't have to waste anybody's time. Don't feel, Bo and partner, that we have to go see it. No, you're going to know pretty quickly if you like this property. Anybody who's sold a lot of real estate, you know that the buyer generally makes the decision in the first few minutes. It's the property that they're going to live in. And I'm not talking about from an investor's perspective. That's a different kind of process, but there's a science to that as well. But somebody who's going to live in the property, they just feel it. They kind of know. It's almost like love at first sight, right? Now, when we're seeing the property, I'm not following them around. I'm saying, look, guys, I'm going to go upstairs, make sure all the lights are turned on, make sure nobody's in the home. You take a look at the main floor, and then when they come upstairs, I go to the main floor. Okay? Why? Because especially if it's partners, 2 people, 3 people, whatever it may be, I want them to talk. I want them to see, and I want them to start envisioning themselves in this property. That doesn't happen, in my opinion, if the realtor's following them around, especially if it's the first time they're seeing properties with you, right? They're not sure of the whole process, and they're like, don't want to say anything that might offend you as the realtor, or they don't want to say anything because they're like, you're still the salesperson. All valid. So let's just get away from that as quickly as possible. Let them walk around the home, and you'll start to hear things. Honey, you think little Johnny's bed can fit in this? Hey, it's a pink room right now, and it's a little too pinky for me. Let's change it up. You'll start hearing those things. Those are called buying signals. Now, when we leave the property, I'm going to say we have more properties to see, Bo and partner. Just so I know, because I can save you time in the future, I can pre-select homes, just so I can start to get an understanding of what you like and what you don't like. Out of a 10, this is the perfect home, and this is what you want to move into. And 1 being, this sucked. What would you rate this home? And they're going to say a number. Great. 7.5. just out of curiosity, what would make it a 10? They're going to list off things. Well, I didn't like the size of the principal rooms. I didn't like the fact that there was no powder room. I didn't like that there wasn't a separate entrance. You can't just remember these things, guys. Be a professional. They expect you to take notes. You go to the doctor's office, you go to the dentist, they all take notes so they don't make a bad mistake. And so I want you to take notes. Okay, it would be a 10 if it had a separate entrance, a powder room on the main floor, and the principal rooms were bigger and larger. Okay, great. Fantastic. Now, what you need to do is continuously ask those questions. And then at some point, what you want to let the person know, and this could be in the second set of showings, right? You don't want to throw too much at the prospect the first time. The second time you want to say, there is no such thing as the perfect home. What we want to do is try to get the closest possible to a 10. And then realize that you as the buyer will be able to make some changes as you move in. You're not going to find the perfect home, especially if it's your first home. What you want to do is move up the property ladder. We start smaller and we work our way up to a bigger property, a better property, whatever that might mean to them. And if this lasts in the question that was asked for 6, 7, 8 months, there is nothing wrong as you as the professional to have what I call a meeting of the minds. Bo, partner, we've seen some homes that are like 9s here from what you've told me. Are we nervous about putting in an offer? Because I understand that. That's why I'm here, to help you through the process. Because what is it? How come we haven't, pulled the trigger on one of them? And then you got to shut up and let them answer. And then address those questions. Next, Bo.
Okay, the next question is from Raj. And it says, what's the best way to break into the luxury market? I'm not sure how to level up.
Yeah, that's a great question. It's a new question as well. I think the number one way to do that is either get on a team that already handles luxury listings, because then you're going to pick up on the business that they don't want. And luxury could mean a bunch of different things, but what happens is that somebody who's doing, let's just work with Toronto real estate. Toronto real estate, you can probably say about, 6.5, 7 million and above, you can kind of classify as luxury. Okay. We have Bridal Path where Drake lives. I mean, those homes are, 50, 60, 100 million bucks. What I would do is if I wanted to tap into that, because I don't do that type of business. I never done that type of business on a regular basis. It's not what was my consistent flow of business. But if I was going to, what I would do is there's a couple of agents that pretty much own that market. Well, I'm going to go work for that team. And I'm going to say, guys, forget your $50 million listings. You guys obviously probably get clients that request the $800,000 and the $900,000 homes, which they see as not really worth their time. And I understand why. The reason is that you pick that up, but at the same time, you're in the room, you're hearing conversations about what's happening in those luxury deals. So you're getting more educated about it. Number one thing to do. Number two, go where the money is, right? So you might not be able to get the listings right away. To think that you would be kind of naive, because in any luxury real estate market, there's already agents who have been farming that area. They've been working that area for a long time. So what you need is the person. You need the connections. You need the relationships, which you might have zero of right now. So if you plot me in any city in the world and I want to work the high-end luxury, what I'm going to do is find out, where do they all hang out? I'll use Toronto as the example again. Well, there's a couple of private clubs. There's a couple of, even the private clubs, you can't go there all the time, but they have introductory meetings that you can get into. There's some hotel lobbies that we just all know because we live here in Toronto, and they're in your area, wherever you're watching or listening right now. And I'm going to go to that bar and I'm going to hang out at the bar, literally. Now, you don't have to sit there and drink tequila. Order a club soda. Side note, club soda kind of looks like you might be drinking vodka and club soda. All right. And I'm going to order that for the next 4 or 5 hours. If I have time, that's what I'm going to do. I'm also going to probably go to the golf club. Now, I might not be able to get into a private golf club, but I'm going to go to golf club because that a golf club and just even putt all day. That's the secret, by the way, not to go play the 18 holes because people are paired up. Where you go is where they practice the putting, because everyone, before they go play their 18 holes, or maybe afterwards, they go practice putting. And so if you're there all day, you're just going to bump into people, right? So go where the money is already, hang out, build a relationship. It's going to take time. You want to do $10 million, $50 million homes. You can't just wake up and do that tomorrow. It's going to take a little bit of time. At the same time, make sure that you also are open to doing all the other business. Because if you're starting out, the people who are selling those type of homes, they want to know, you know, what the hell you're talking about. That's why I mentioned joining a team at the start. Bo?
The next question we got from Maria. Do you think open houses still work?
100% open houses still work. Why? Because people walk into them. Every single weekend, a prospect walks into an open house, meets an agent, and they buy real estate. Here's the caveat though. As long as you know, 95% of the time, the person who's walking into the open house is not buying that house. So don't go into doing an open house thinking that you're going to sell that house with that prospect. Like 95% of the time, that's not how it works. What you want to do is do the open house because there's people who are walking in. So everything works. It's a matter of what you're willing to do over a long period of time. I like that so much, I'm going to say it again. Everything works in business. It's just a matter of what you're willing to do for a long period of time. And so in terms of open houses, if you have time and you're not doing anything on the weekends and that's not your family time or your personal time, I would do an open house every single weekend because I'm going to meet people. 10 people are going to walk in. 7 of them are going to be working with real estate agents. 2 of them are going to think you're a creep. 1's going to want to do business with you and say, yeah, you can stay in touch. So now let's extrapolate that, right? Like, let's take that out. You do 1 every single weekend, okay? That's 104 open houses that you're gonna do in a year. Out of 104, you have 10 people that are gonna walk into each, that's 1,000. Out of 1,000, 100 people who are thinking about buying, which sometimes also means that they have a property to sell. 100 people, you just built up your network, your database, your prospect list of 100 people. So the answer is yes. Also because open houses are pretty much free. You got to drive. Yeah, you got to spend some gas putting out the signs, but there's not much more involved. And I can tell you right now, most real estate agents don't like doing open houses even on their own listings. Just call around. You're on a team, that's easy. If not, go to your brokerage. There's nothing that stops you from being with ABC brokerage and calling someone at XYZ real estate and saying, hey, like, you have a listing. We can, you know, help each other in that sense as well. Agents will say, yeah, I don't want to do it this weekend. I'm busy. So open houses, door knocking, cold calling, all of this stuff works. It's just a matter of what you're willing to do over a long period of time. Bo?
Yeah, the last question we got is from Marcus. He said, my brokerage keeps pushing for higher call volumes, but I feel like the quality of my conversations are dropping. How do you find the balance?
First of all, I just don't think there's, that word balance to me is always a funny word. I just don't think in life there's anything really that is imbalance, like that has balance 50-50. Something always is being sacrificed in terms of the high volume and not getting the results. It's actually maybe a little bit to do with my fault. And I say that because I put out a lot of videos of my coaching clients making calls and myself making calls, and the comments speak a lot about, well, I would never answer this call, or I would never, if somebody said no, or where's the email? Like, there's all these questions that come up in my videos because people think I'm cold calling. I think, like, if you cold call and you do it for a long period of time, it will work. However, most people don't like doing it. Personally, I cold called for a month. And the first time, like the first month that I got into the business, I was like, I'm fucking out of here. Forget not cold calling. I'm leaving the business. Luckily, like my life turned in terms of meeting a mentor who taught me this actually 20 years ago, is why we cold calling, just warm call. So there's people that are already on your device, on your cell phone, that know you. They probably like you. And if they don't like you yet, they might not even know you like from the perspective of remembering you. You just got to jog their memory. You got to call them first because you just have a higher probability of connecting with them. You have their phone number. You got it from somewhere. And so that's where I would start, is that list. Now, you might not have a lot of people in that list. Okay, now we know what gap we gotta cover. We gotta go meet more people, right? So we gotta figure that out. That's a whole different answer. But in terms of making calls, I can't even speak to you really about cold calling because I don't cold call. You know, as I say, I don't cold call. I don't really cold call for real estate business. That's 100%. There is some cold calling that I have to do in terms of like when I'm setting up a talk at a brokerage or maybe an event organizer. That's maybe more of a cold call. But for real estate business, I only warm call. And when I run out of my list, what I would do is just go meet more people. As I mentioned, me personally, I'm always meeting more people. So then I'm always having people to do a warm call with. So if you want to up your rates, I agree with your brokerage. You should be calling more people. I'm not here to say you shouldn't cold call, but what I would tell you to up your results when calling, it happens with the warm list, not the cold list. Because they don't know you, they don't like you, and they obviously don't trust you. So why are we hitting our heads against the wall so much? Let's just work with people that kind of might know us. You also have people that definitely know you. Your friends, your family, and your uncles, all that kind of stuff. They probably do like you, your family and friends and uncles. And now all we got to do is get them to trust you. That's different, but it's a lot easier to call people that already you have a somewhat of a relationship with to take them into the next possible process, the next step in the sales process, which is having some type of consultation, helping them maybe create wealth in real estate, than it is with someone that doesn't know you and you're just cold calling. Because I don't like being cold called either. All right, Bobo, that's this week's episode. I look forward to seeing you guys next week. Make sure to go to meetjastakhar.com/podcast. meetjastakhar.com/podcast to get your question answered live right here on the Jazz Takhar podcast.